So we take those leads and, we look at the properties more in depth and see what kind of deal we can work out. Then we close on them. And if they need any sort of work like clearing of paths or, surveying work or something along those lines, we'll get that done pretty quickly. And then we'll list them on the market for resale. So the key is that we're able to price things. We're able to buy it at the right price, but then we're able to price them right as well. So then they're below market on the market, and then they sell quickly. So average hold time is only about 60 days.
Hello, and welcome back to the Very Real Estate Effect podcast, a show dedicated to real estate investing right here in Quebec. But yet today, we're going to be talking to someone in the United States, our big neighbor down south. It's okay, they have a lot of experience. So first of all, hello, Pete. How are you?
Great, Axel. Thanks for having me here.
All right. Well, look, today our guest is Pete Reese. Reese? We'll just cut it out editing because Reese. I know.
Either or, I'll go by anything anyone calls me, so whatever.
And I asked you before, and I shouldn't have known. So Pete, you're the president of RealVest Properties and also host of the Turning Profit podcast, and you're based in San Diego.
Yep, that's right. Yeah, sunny San Diego, although it's a little cloudy today, but I'll still take it. Yeah, I can't complain about the weather around here.
No, and you can't complain because you're talking to me in Quebec and it's a lot colder. So yeah. So before we go into Pete's experience in land flipping, because that's what we're going to be talking about, it's going to be a really fun episode. As usual, I just want to remind everyone, thank you for your continued support. It's really appreciated. Thank you for leaving us a rating, some comments. Share this episode with a friend who could benefit from this conversation. And we're also in the planning of the new season for 2023. If you have any ideas of guests, topics you'd like to hear about, please let me know so I can prepare interviews that you're interested in, so you can learn as much as possible. And also, as launched a few weeks ago, we also now have the patrons. You mentioned, I listened, we started the Patreon, and if you want to join the inner circle, you get a bunch of different privileges and accesses and special events. So reach out, let me know. And also, as a shout out, I absolutely want to thank my friend Rodrigo Parata today. We had a really good conversation this morning. He's been an absolute supporter of the podcast. He's been on the show twice. He's been scaling like crazy. He's working now on large multifamilies, and I'm really, really proud of him. So keep up the good work, Rodrigo. So I hope, Rodrigo, actually this episode is going to be an inspiration for you because I know you want to get into land development. So Pete, first of all, how in the world did you get started in real estate investing?
Well, it's been a long journey. Started in the year 2000. My real estate journey started in the year 2000 when I bought a home with my wife, and we just bought it, low down payment government assistance program here in the United States. It's called FHA loan, where you can get in with 3.5% down. So we got in on our first home and kept it for 2 years, sold it, and we made a $50,000 profit. And I thought I was a real estate tycoon. But at the time, that was really a big chunk of money for us. And so we just kept that rolling. We bought a house that was bigger, but it needed a lot more work. So we did that. That went well. I made money on that. And then we started flipping homes. And this was before the real estate crash here in 2007 to 2009. So we were flipping a bunch of homes, really got involved with that. Got my real estate license in the meantime. So I started also, kind of looking for deals for some other investors. But when the real estate market crashed, we kind of put the flipping thing on hold. And I just primarily focused on working with banks selling their properties, being a listing broker for their properties, an REO broker, we call it. Mm-hmm. So that was a whole new experience and kept me super busy, during the downturn, and a lot of people in real estate were struggling. So I was thankful for that. And then, kind of got sidetracked. Well, I was working with investors for a while to find them deals, wasn't doing a lot of investing myself, but I had a whole big client list of investors that were buying every deal that I could bring them. So that was great for a while. got out of real estate investing and real estate for a little while, working on a business with my wife. But then a couple years ago, really got the itch to get back into real estate investing. I knew I wanted to do it. Didn't know what model I wanted to go forward with. Kind of stumbled into some stuff about land investing, and
Hmm.
then just kind of went all in on it and learned everything I could about it. And 2021, we resold our first property using that business model in March of 2021. And in by the close of 2021, we did 1.2 million in sales and about 50% gross profit margin. So on average, we doubled, whatever we purchased, we doubled.
Hmm.
2022, going to end up somewhere between 3.5 and 4 million in revenue and about the same gross profit margin as well. So really working on scaling it. In 2023, we want to, hit 10 million if we can.
I was gonna say hit 10 million. That sounds like
Yes.
a nice goal to have. So kind of walk us through like, so what exactly do you do with the company? You buy land and you resell it, but there's a lot that happens in between.
Yes. And there's a lot of ways to do it. There's a lot of land investors that kind of take this niche and have put their own spin on it. But here's exactly what I do. Uh, we prepare a list of landowners, all different states and all different counties across the United States. And basically, we take that list and we send them out a letter. It's a 2-page
Hmm.
letter. First page is just kind of introducing who we are and what we do. Second page is an actual offer. So
Okay.
we come up with an offer price based off of averages for that particular area. Say it's a 10-acre property and the average retail price on it is 10,000 an acre. We might offer them 3,000 an acre. And, we offer them a quick cash deal. And
Hmm.
then, we see what kind of leads come in. So we take those leads and, we look at the properties more in depth and see what kind of deal we can work out. Then we close on them. And if they need any sort of work like clearing of paths or surveying work or something along those lines, we'll get that done pretty quickly. And then we'll list them on the market for resale. So the key
Okay.
is that we're able to price things, we're able to buy it at the right price, but then we're able to price them right as well. So then they're below market on the market, and then they sell quickly. So average hold
Okay.
time is only about 60 days.
Oh, wow.
Right. And
That's
that's
really
including
good.
the escrow, the
Yeah.
transaction side on the resale as well.
Okay, okay. Well, there's so much to unpack in there. Okay, so you do your research. Okay, in the US though, you have a lot more access to information that we do in Canada and at least in Quebec, where it's a lot easier to get the from the land registry and the registre foncier for us, the contact info, well, the name and address of the registered owner for a piece of land. So
Right.
then you take these lists, and then do you have like a minimum and a maximum lot size that you're looking at? Because you don't want to be bidding on 5,000 square feet, I take.
Exactly. There are people that sort of focus in all ranges, really. Some people focus on these small infill lots, they call it, maybe in a developed city, and then there's just kind of that one lot that's there. They target those kind of lots. I personally do more of the rural properties. At right now, we're focusing on 10 acres plus. So
Hmm.
10 acres all the way up to as big as they can get. The biggest property we've
Yeah.
done is 650 acres. But I'd say most of them are in that 10 to 50 acre range right now.
Hmm. And then
So
in order to make an offer, you said you look at average prices for the area on a per acre
right.
basis. Where do you get this data from?
Mostly sites like Zillow. If you
Hmm.
guys ever use Zillow or realtor.com, there's just a lot of public data and transactions that happen. So we take a look at that and just see what things are selling for in that acreage range within a particular area or county. And then we use that to come up with their offer prices. Now,
Okay.
it's, when we send out these letters, it's based off of the averages. And when people call in or the email, text in, we might be right on, we might be too low, we might be too
Yeah.
high,
Yeah, and
but
then you
it starts
negotiate.
the
That's fine.
conversation. Exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You initiate contact and you bring him into the conversation and start a relationship. Okay. I'm sure you have some like funny horror stories of people calling you to insult you and then hang up. But
Oh, yes. We get a lot of that, a lot of, angry callers and, upset that we offered too low and they're property or whatever. And, we just, first of all, I've got a call answering service that tries to that filter out all those people. So then only the real people that are
Yeah.
interested in selling get to us, and then we make contact with them at that
Mhm.
point. But
And just to understand your prospecting, so when you do out mailers, do you do like one series per month, per day, per week? Like, and how big is your average mailing?
right. Right now, I'm averaging 50,000 letters a month. So, and I do that in two batches of 25,000. So I do first and the
Jesus.
15th, 25,000 on each, roughly.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. And what's
And it
your
costs,
your your call rate out of that? So let's say
it's
50,000
really,
letters.
I don't even really track that too much because there's so many variables that go into play on that. It's like, it could be like the offer percentage, it could be the county, everything. There's so many different things that could change that. More of what I track is my cost per deal,
Yeah.
in direct mail costs. So right now I don't know where this year is going to shake out exactly. Somewhere between 3,000 and 3,500 per deal is what it costs me to get a deal under contract. And our average profit margin on each deal is about 22,000 right now. So it makes sense.
Nice.
Yeah, the numbers work.
Wow. Yeah, the numbers make sense. It's worth keep going forward.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And then,
Okay.
there's other investors that do other methods too, say texting is a big thing, starting to be a big thing in this industry.
Mhm.
And then also, pay per click, things like that.
Yeah. Okay, because I find it's fun to walk through the process. So, okay, let's say 50,000 letters a month. Man, I'd love to hear about your overall marketing costs at the end. But so then, and it's obviously it's hard to track because some guy might call you after 10 days and some after 2 months. So it's really hard to track like which was when.
I'm after a
And
year.
some after a year, exactly. And by the way, do you do like some follow-ups? Do you mail the same address twice?
Yeah,
Okay.
many times. The
Yeah,
areas that we
exactly.
really like and that we were really working, every 3 months I'll mail them.
Yeah. A little reminder, hey, we're still there. I'm
Yeah,
still
I'm
interested.
still here. It's
Yeah.
Pete.
Yeah. When you think of selling, think of me first. Okay, and then you obviously automated all of that. So how does it work from the letter to the first phone call and being screened?
Uh-huh. Well, I've got a call service, so that's kind of a lot of the leads come in by calls. Sometimes they come in by emails or text as well, or mail even.
Mhm.
So I guess we could start with the call service. So I've got a call service set up, and they answer the phone 24 hours a day. And if they have a script that they go through to try to weed out the people that are not interested in selling. If they are
Mhm.
interested in selling, if it's during business hours, then they'll do what they call a live transfer. They'll try to
Mhm.
transfer it over to my acquisition manager who's on my team, and that acquisition manager is responsible for all the customer or all the seller contact, on the phone, email, text, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
um, if they email in or they text in or they send mail in, then they get inputted into our CRM right away, and part of an automation, some automation stuff kicks in, but also the acquisition manager reaches out to them right away and tries to make contact by phone if
Mhm.
possible.
Yeah. And because in that kind of situation, the urgency is key. Like when they call back,
Yes,
if you're able to like, call them back within 3 hours and send an offer within 6 hours and then say, hey, we can close on this in 2 weeks. Like obviously you
right.
get a lot more traction to get the ball rolling.
Yep. Speed is everything. Yeah, it
Yeah.
really is.
Okay. And so okay, so now you take them. So you have an acquisition manager that manages all those different closings. But if you mail throughout all of the US, then you have because in the US it's closing attorneys, right?
Yeah, it depends on the state. Some states it's attorneys, some states it's like title companies and attorneys, and then some states it is escrow companies. But they all
Yeah.
do the same thing. They're just kind of a different name for whatever they do. But we try to focus on certain states. Like for right now, we're kind of focusing on sort of the East Coast of the United States, and there's counties within those states, and we'll break it up by county pretty much.
Yeah.
So,
And in terms of geographic, okay, so you said the eastern side of Canada of the US.
yeah.
Do you target like just outside the suburbs of medium-sized cities or around large cities, or what's the forte?
Yeah. Our main thing is, normally most of our stuff is more rural, but we try to stay within an hour or 2 hours of a major city. That kind of
Hmm.
seems to be, people that are looking for a recreational home site, or maybe, the potential to build something on that property at some point. An hour to two from a major city, which is kind of a lot of the US is like an hour or 2 hours from a major city. So
Yeah.
we don't exclude a lot of areas because they're too remote. Every once in a while we do, but I'm more of what I look at is activity in the market. So I'll look at,
Hmm.
you know, say for instance, I'll pull 10 to 100 acres and I'll look on Zillow and I'll say, okay, 10 to 100 acres, how many properties within that range sold in the last year? And if, say it's 10 properties sold, and then I look in that same range and there's 20 properties for sale, that's not such a good, that's like 2 years of inventory if you kind of
Yeah.
rough it
Yeah.
out on a napkin. But if it's the other way around, like 10 properties sold and there's only like two listings, then we know it's a really active market and there's demand
Yeah.
there. So that's what I
Yeah.
look for.
Okay. So yeah, it makes sense to be able to kind of see like the depth and the velocity of that market. Now, you
Yes.
said like on average you hold this for about 60 days. So um I was gonna say like then how do you value add? Or is it like by subdividing or how does it work? Because I always understood like the for a piece of land, like you want to find the optimal use of what is it that you can do on that land and then try to take it as far as possible down the value chain process to eventually resell with a permit even if you don't build or just changing the zoning or just doing an access road, just bringing utilities. So like how do you choose how far you're going to go where that profit margin is worth it for you?
Sure. Yeah, it really depends. I mean, most of these properties we're doing light value add stuff. These could be clearing trails on a property just so people could access and kind of see what it is that they would be buying. We'll do maybe perk tests. These are, suitability for a septic system,
Hmm.
which is important for building in some of these rural areas. Sometimes we'll do some surveying. Uh, we've done some things where we subdivide minor subdivision, they call it. So in a lot of these areas, we can take, say, 100-acre property and split it up into 5 properties just by simply hiring a surveyor and then
Yeah,
recording that.
yeah,
And that's,
yeah, yeah.
those are pretty good because you're value adding, and when you sell smaller parcels, you can normally get a higher, you know,
Per
uh,
acre.
per
Hmm.
acre exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. And then do you do like infrastructure? Do you do service roads? You wouldn't pull electricity and
try
water?
not to. Try not to. In
No.
fact, though, we are doing a road on this one property that we've got right now, and it's costing a lot of money, so I don't think I'll be doing that again.
Yeah.
I'm still
I was
making a lot
gonna
of money, but it's just I don't want to pay that huge bill like that. I just.
Yeah, the trade-off has to be worth it because to do
Right.
a kilometer, a mile of road is damn expensive.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even
Okay.
gravel roads.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The minute you bring in machinery and all that, it's
Sure.
cost explodes. Okay. So then you take, let's say you take, as you said, 100 acres, you subdivide it into 5 lots of 20. You just did that with a surveyor. It's re-recorded. You pay your surveyor. Then what do? You go and sell that to retail buyers who want to build a house, to developers, or what's your exit?
Either or, we put them all on the market individually, and we'll let the buyer have that option. Some of them may look at it as an immediate home site, or they may look at it as something like a recreational property with the idea that maybe they'll build on it in the future, or maybe they're just buying it as for pure recreation. A property that's 10 to 20 acres is really a pretty big piece of property. You could do a lot with it if you wanted to. So it just kind of depends what that buyer wants. But I like to be able to have I like to deal in properties where I know that there's more than one potential use. So I like properties that are buildable.
Yeah.
Um, and then, if someone wanted to use it for recreation, obviously they could do that as well.
Okay. And then in terms of zoning, obviously it's different Canada, the US. I have more experience north of the border. Is it solely zoned residential? Do you have some land that could potentially be used for commercial or industrial purposes?
Yep, I've had everything pretty much. I've had, a lot of residential or agriculturally zoned properties or combination properties like that. I've also had some industrial, some um, residential properties that are prime for residential subdivisions. I've had those as well. So it just
Mhm.
depends. I mean, I haven't gone through processes of zoning changes, although that's another way to add value, with land specifically.
Yeah.
if you really know what you're doing and you know where the demand is.
And you have
But it's
time.
just kind of outside of our normal business model. I've got
Hmm.
some properties that we kind of bought with the intent of holding them a little bit longer and kind of taking them down the path of development, but not actually, bring the bulldozers out and things like that, more of the paper side of things.
Okay.
But
Yeah, and as you said, if it doesn't fit in your business model to do any of the infrastructure work, the minute you actually start doing that, it greatly increases the price, the time it takes, and everything that goes with it. But as I was hearing you talk about the development, I heard of the model of someone buys the land and either they partner up with a builder developer who's going to do it, or is just I know a guy who had bought a big piece of land. He didn't want to do it himself, and he, well, same thing, like partnered slash gave it to a developer, and then he told him, anything you sell, you give me 20%. Would that be
yeah.
something of interest?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Yeah, that's a really cool strategy. I've heard about people doing that before. And anything that's kind of a win-win, it's I love the quick flip type things. I've got a property that I'm marketing for a subdivision, and if a builder came to me with some sort of proposal like that, I'd definitely be all ears.
Hmm.
You know?
Yeah, because then there's a lot more value. And then also, if it gets sold over time, you also benefit from that like 2 to 3 year appreciation. There's 10 houses to build. By the time you sell the 10th one, it's obviously worth more than the first one. So then,
Yeah,
if you,
it's
yeah,
like
if you,
turning it into an income property. It's pretty cool, actually, at least for a
yeah,
while.
yeah, that's what is interesting with land is that there's so many ways to skin that cat and
Oh
how
yeah,
far you want to take it down the process. And I mean, you have a fabulous business that just works with like essentially like buying, subdividing, if and then reselling. Like that's the least amount of I was gonna say of inputs in order for you to still get a good profit.
right. Yeah, and that's there's many different ways to kind of work within the land business, which is interesting to me. I mean, I've kind of found the niche that works for me, and
Hmm.
I know other people are doing kind of a completely different spin on things, and it works for them. So,
Yeah. Yeah. So where do you want to take you said you wanted to do 10 million in sales for
right.
2023. Where do you want to take the company or what's the vision for the next few years?
Yeah, I want to really try to scale it as much as I can, kind of build our portfolio in the meantime. One of the things I really want to get into is the renewable energy side of the land business, which in a lot of these states that I'm dealing in means solar farms, developing solar farms. So we could take a property that's 50-acre property and maybe is not the most desirable property because it's got these big transmission lines cutting across it or something like that. But if you're going to build a solar farm, you actually want those big transmissions cutting
Yeah.
lines cutting across your property. So, in the US here, there's a big push to make the power grid renewable by 2035. And there's
Mhm.
just a ton of government incentives, both tax wise and just a lot of incentive to go that way. So
Mhm.
building out solar farms to me is kind of a no brainer in some of these areas. And
Mhm.
especially it takes a while. That's the big hang up with them. I mean, it takes some of these areas it could take 2 to 4 years to get a project approved. But once you
Oh, to
do,
get the project approved. Okay, I thought
to
you
get
meant in terms of
approved
once
and
it's
ready to
installed to
like
recoup.
break ground. Yeah. So,
Wow.
but when you do get to that point, there's buyers lining up ready to pay a premium. So you could either sell it at that point, or you could get financing to get it done yourself, and then you could really cash out, or you could hold it long term even. But from
Mhm.
what I understand from all the research that I've done, like the prices that they're able to sell these things for are just so incredible that it doesn't even pencil out to really hold it. It's
Yeah,
more of
no.
the institutional investors that are playing in that, on that
That
field.
that's a really, really good idea. Just to take it down the approval process so then it's ready for solar panel installation, and then you can sell it to a utility or an investment company who's actually going to be doing the heavy lifting and the heavy investment because this stuff is
Yes.
costly and then it takes them like 15 years to recoup.
Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's
And,
really cool.
and like I said, a lot of these properties that are ideal for solar farms are less valuable on just the land market, because at this point, because they have the big transmission lines going through them, or there's just something about it that maybe it's an ugly lot for some reason or another, but so we could pick them up at some pretty good prices and then kind of hold those as sort of longer term plays. And basically you just hire a engineering firm that specializes in that to walk it through the whole process, just like you would if you were going to develop a residential subdivision. You're going to hire an engineering company that's going to, civil engineering company that's going to do everything, and you just have to pay those bills along the way. So,
yep. I'm going through that right now, and boy, is it costly every time you receive some of those invoices.
It's like, oh my God, another invoice?
Yeah, it's like, what? I thought we're done with this. No, another 5K, 10K, 10K. Anyways, can't complain. It's a good problem to have.
Yeah.
Hey, Pete, this is really, really interesting, and I'm glad, like in the last few minutes, we talked about that the solar farm opportunities, and I'm sure there's plenty of other uses for that land, where it can be put to good use for energy, for for social housing, for any of those desirable outcomes that we need. And in case people want to get in touch with you, what's the best way to reach out?
Best way to get a hold of me is on my website, turningprofit.com. So launching a podcast at the beginning of January here about land investing, and also lots of different models in real estate investing. And each month I do a monthly income report where I kind of break down all the revenue, the profit we made that month. I break down each individual deal, like we bought it for this price, sold it for this price, made this much, return on investment, the whole deal. And I talk through what we learned on each property and what we'll hopefully learn going forward from all these things. So, so if you're interested in the land business or land flipping at all, definitely, worth checking out, I think.
Oh, definitely. And that's a great idea to do a podcast centered around that, where you share the numbers and say like, hey, this is what we did on this deal, and everyone can learn from it, including you.
Yeah. I mean, when I first started, really, there was very limited information out there. I mean, I would see anecdotes of people saying, hey, I bought this property for $10,000 and I sold it for $30,000. And it sounded great. And that's kind of what got me excited about getting into this niche. But I didn't know if that was real or just some guys talking on the internet, or, you just never know. So I try to be as transparent as possible and show you exactly what's happening. In fact, I've got a whole video that I did, which is my first 50 deals. And I go through every single one of them, what we bought for, what we sold it for, how long it took to sold, everything. So.
Wow. Nice. All right, Pete. Well, look, it's been a real pleasure. Thank you very much for coming on the podcast today. It's been really fun, and I know I've certainly learned a few things, and I'm sure all those who are listening have as well. So for everyone who's out there, thank you for tuning in today. Again, send us some feedback. Let me know what you want to hear about. And as usual, keep researching your market, make some offers, get educated, start investing in real estate, and I will talk to you all next week. Thank you very much, Pete.
Thank you.
All right. Bye, everyone. Ciao, ciao. Signing out.